Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 10th of April, comes to you from London. And it's all eyes on crude oil, really, in the Middle East, and that the effect of the crude price and what that's having on the global economy. So, this is the chart that everyone's really looking at. This is the 60-minute chart, the short-term chart. This morning, when I wrote my report out to our energy clients, this was an orange target to the upside. It's been activated and it's now green. So we are seeing a little bit of upward pressure. We're up 2%. We actually called these markets mostly neutral today because really it's hard to judge. The way to think of this is that there's a range now between 90 and 110. It was previously 100, 120. With the truce, that price has dropped down, and now we're seeing sort of the range being 90, 110. So we are trading in that range, and the outcome of the Middle East situation probably means that this range will go on for some time. If there was a deal agreed, then we might see prices falling back, but it's hard to see that we would be back to the levels that we saw in January and February. This is going to persist, and so the reality is we are dealing with higher energy prices. And the key thing is looking at the different time frames. This is the 10-minute chart. There's an upside target to 102 on Brent crude. If I look at it on WTI, there's an upside target to 103. We are sitting above 100 at the moment, just above 100 on WTI. That's going to be interesting in America. The American consumer is going to be very susceptible to that $100 oil price sort of barrier, if you like. And that's the key thing, is the 100 level is a psychologically important level, and we're currently just breaking that. You can see the upside targets here on the 1-minute chart. Gas prices in Europe are down slightly. Again, we were neutral today, and power prices. So energy costs remain elevated. Looking at the dollar, we start with the dollar index. No big changes there. If we look at the 60-minute, this downside target that was activated with the truce, and interestingly, 98.50 on the dollar index is going to be quite key. Looking at sterling, we're waiting to see if this upside target is activated to 140. That would be about dollar weakness. So that's really quite key. And again, sterling's got a range of 131.50 to 138.50. If we break to the upside, we activate this target to the green. We break to the downside, we activate this one to red. So we're waiting and seeing what's going to happen there. Excuse me. Looking at Bitcoin, we're down 1%. The daily targets still rule. The 60-minute chart is still above the cloud, but it's short-term uptrend, medium-term downtrend. Long-term, that's the really interesting thing on Bitcoin, is that the long-term weekly chart is below the cloud. So we discount these upside targets. This one was pretty much met at 124, but this one to 187, that we're just completely discounting because we are below the cloud at the moment. Looking at the futures in the US, down very slightly. A lot of this is about news flow, of course. We look at the NASDAQ. We still have got waiting to see if we can activate that upside target, but on the medium term, hitting the cloud. So we're still below the cloud, hitting it from below. That's hitting cloud resistance, and we've got the downside target hanging over us. UK market is holding its strength. It is above the cloud, and so that is looking more bullish. That is driven by, of course, the oil majors, BP and Shell, being big weightings in the index. And the DAX in Germany is fairly flat. And that is not in an uptrend, that's more sideways. Asian markets were pretty strong overnight. We see the Sensex up 1%. Aussie gave back a little bit. Japan, a little changed. Many of you know, watch this, but Japan is still my, the thing that I'm watching with concern. 160 on the yen is the key level. And if we look at the bond yields, Japanese bond yields, that's really the key thing. The market will worry when we break 250 there, and on the 60-minute chart we do have a target to 254, so really significant. Interestingly, most bond yields have fallen back, meaning bonds are rising, the yields are falling. The standout is the UK this morning. Bond yields up 1.5%, and that upside target to 5.56%. That will be painful for the government if we get to those sort of levels. Above 5%, that's the sort of headline grabbing level. So coming back to looking at some other things, gold. We've got an upside target here, not yet activated. That will turn green with a new move higher. Quite often I want to know, am I likely to activate that target? I'll go to the 60-minute chart, and I'm also waiting for an upside target to activate here. A move above 48.40 would activate that target to 52.55, and if we come back here, I'm waiting for a move through again 4800. So both those targets are waiting to activate. Silver is flat. Not a great looking chart, to be honest. If we look at the 60-minute chart, we can see targets in either direction, so that's quite key. The tech majors in the US last night, we saw some quite big moves. Amazon were up 5.6%. That's really changed the chart on the 60-minute. And looking at the daily chart, we're sort of just fighting the cloud here. Google were up 0.5%. Again, fighting the cloud, and Microsoft continues to be weak. They were down in a rising market, and that has been a really poor performer this year. Nvidia up 1%, and Tesla just having met the targets, but a clear downtrend below the cloud. Again, you go to the 60-minute chart, and you can see those targets they're confirming as well. So all in all, we are in a very mixed week. It all depends on the news from the Middle East, and the markets will close with that uncertainty today, and then on Monday we come back with more news flow, and it's where these levels are breached is really quite key. So have a great weekend. Until Monday, happy charting. Bye for now.